All right, the purpose of our experiment tonight is for families to experience the steps in the scientific process. We're going to use a science journal. We're going to be highlighting some of our state's content standards and benchmarks, particularly the need for evidence in the scientific process. And what we've always told our students, for example, is you need to have multiple tries at a science experiment. So even though you're only going to do the science experiment once as a family this evening, if you look how many families we have in here, we had 59 families signed up. So we would have done the experiment 59 times. So we should have a pretty good base of data for evidence for our experiment. If you'd locate your science journal, and on the science journal it says, what we are going to investigate is written right here. If you would please put that down on your science journal. We're going to investigate how water will affect a broken toothpick. So if you will copy this where it says what we are going to investigate, that would be a big help. That's a good start. This is exactly what either your children, or if your children are doing this is what we have to do. The next step is what I think will happen, or that's your educated guess or hypothesis. So, the first thing you need to do before we go there is look at your directions and get your wooden toothpicks bent and in place according to the diagram that's on your directions. You'll see how you have to put them together. So bend, don't break your toothpicks, but bend them and put them together according to the little diagram that's on. I've got extras. When you've got your toothpick star together, like I've started here, now let's get ready to make our prediction. What do you think is going to happen when we take a drop of water and drop it on those toothpicks? This is time to make our hypothesis right here. What do you think is going to happen? Once you have your star transformed, go down on your science journal and list your materials, please. You don't need to list your pencil in your journal, but list the materials that you used for your science experiment. Your toothpicks, the water, the straw. List your materials now.
All right. I will they just have a dry throat and barely can
You did this before.
I did it with a straw. Paper is like
And when you've listed your materials, please drop down and work with your child and list your observation notes. Write down just exactly what you saw when the water hit the straw. What happened to your straw? Did your the toothpicks? Thank you, Bob. What happened when the water hit the toothpicks? Write down what you saw happen. That's what you observed.
The pressure of the water caused the toothpicks to move out
Here.
The pressure of the water caused the toothpicks to move out and push against each other.
And so what happened when that happened?
When it formed a star.
Okay, it made the toothpicks move. What else? Who else has got something they'd like to try? What's they? They what? The toothpicks expanded when what? Good. The toothpicks expanded when the water hit them. Okay. Why? What happened? What happened? Who knows why that happened? Oh, Cody, you know why it happened? Mrs. Peterson, we got Cody. Cody wants to offer why that happened here. Let's hear what Cody has to say.
Where's Cody?
Cody's right here. What happened, Cody? Why did that happen? The toothpicks absorbed the water? Good. I'm going to put this word up here just for...
Could I say something too?
Sure.
When you're, instead of using pronouns like they, be real specific and say the toothpicks. That helps a lot.
And if you say it, you mean the water, it would be helpful? Okay. Families, work together and put your conclusion down. We gave you some ideas. Let's see what you got. We got a young fourth grade scientist over here who's ready to tell us the errors that could have happened. He's way ahead of us. Michael, you want to start us out? What are some of the things that could have caused our experiment to maybe not work correctly? Michael, right over there. Michael, raise your hand so Mrs. Peterson can find you.
Too much water could spread the toothpicks out to not form the star, or too little water could not swell the toothpicks up.
All right. Those are some things. What else might have caused our toothpick? Oh, we got one there. Okay.
Putting water too fast in the middle of the 5 toothpicks would not form.
Putting the water on too fast. Okay, when you didn't drop it gently. All right. What else have we got? Michael. Oh, Michael. Mrs. Peterson's coming.
If we broke the toothpicks,
If you broke the toothpicks instead of bent them, and there was a little trick to that. We were having this conversation up here about why that might have been the issue. Okay. Oh, if you use not enough toothpicks or too many toothpicks. All right, families, work together and get some of the errors down of things that could have happened in your investigation. That's you with your father.
Here's some things that could...
We just...
Good evening, everybody. I'll make this quick. It sounds like a great investigation. One thing, in terms of science, sometimes you look at something like this and you say, well, what did we learn? These are just toothpicks. And maybe we were making some extra copies, and I'm not sure if you talked about this, but you want to try to think, how does science apply to the real world? And I was just standing there and I was thinking, just about a month or so ago, we had a refrigerator and got up one morning and there was water on the floor in front of the refrigerator. And I guess the ice maker or something was leaking. Well, a few days after that, we have these wood floors, and we started feeling these little ridges on the wood floors. Do you think that could be the similar to what happened with your toothpicks, the reason our floors got all wavy? So a lot of times in terms of science, you're going to do an activity like this, and there are applications to the real world. Okay, so keep water away from wood unless you want it to move in weird ways, like you just saw. What I want to show you real quick, you guys, is just a couple of resources I have. And parents, you're obviously here because you want to help your kids do well in science, and kids, you're here because you want to have more fun at home and at school. So I've got a couple of things and a few handouts by the door. We have, if everyone hear me okay, we have 65 copies of each. So what I'd like to ask is to check with your family members on the way out and make sure you're all not grabbing one, okay? Have one person designated to grab them. And I'll show you what we have real quick. Can everyone hear me like this? No, I'll use the microphone. Just in case. Okay. Couple of things real quick, you guys. And this is kind of aimed at the parents here. To help your students, and some of you have younger ones, they're not just 4th and 5th grade, questioning is so important in science. So encourage questions. Don't just kind of blow off the kids and say, go ask your mom or ask your dad. One good thing to do is to put it back on the child. You know, say, well, let's find out. If you want to know how this works, let's find out together. So encouraging questions is very important. Can you guys see that okay? The other thing you can do as much as possible is provide opportunities for your students. They get a lot of opportunities to learn and do science in school, but they're going to learn a whole lot more if you give them the experiences outdoors, parks, nature centers, whatever it might be. Okay, kids, you're going to love this next suggestion, okay? Less TV, more reading. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. Anyway, or it depends also what you're watching. If you're like my daughter, you know, every once in a while I've got to turn the Rugrats off. There's just not a lot of science in the Rugrats. And for those of you that have computers and use computer games and so on, there's a wealth of information on the internet in terms of science and activities, and I do have some links. So once in a while, turn off the games and the PlayStation and stuff, and with your parents, go to some of the sites, because there's some really cool stuff out there. And parents, just so you know, I put a few sites on the handout, and from there, you know, you can, there's just all kinds of good stuff out there if you're lucky to have a computer at home and so on. So you can pick up the handouts on your way, and thank you. What a great turnout it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. As we're getting to the bottom of the packet, here are two handouts that are handed from the state of Michigan. Parents, please take these home and read these carefully. There are some things that will be expected of your children. The MEEP test starts January 22nd, so please read these things. Try and make sure your kids are here for those 3 weeks. Make sure they get good sleep, eat well, you know, all that good stuff, please. They can perform really well when we have well-rested children. And I think it's time for the estimation jar results. Mrs. White, could you come and do that, please?
We did 10.
Well, we had a lot of interesting estimations here. We had lots and lots. Somebody told me that there were enough M&Ms for 2 movies. I think next year I'm going to ask how many M&Ms Mrs. White ate as she was making the estimation jars. Anyway, the winner of the M&M estimation jar is, the amount in the jar was 1,886 M&Ms. And the person closest was only off by 16, and that was Misty Weltmer. Put that in your scrapbook. Then to trick you a little bit, I got a different shaped jar and bigger candies. And this person was very close. The amount in the jar was 169 cherry hearts, and the person, Tom Heaton, guessed 168. Where's Tom Heaton? Yay! Off by 1.
All right, Mrs. Trask, would you like to report our graphing results, please, of our attendance? We had a pretty hotly contested race earlier. We had a tie, and it was getting pretty scary, but it looks like the tie's been broken.
In 4th grade, Mrs. Peterson's room with, I wasn't here to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for Mrs. Peterson's room is the winner. And I think it's 12. 12 for Mr. Polak's room. Congratulations, classes.
I'm falling apart. Mrs. Peterson's room and Mr. Polak's room, I'll have your prizes to you tomorrow morning.
In my 5 years that I've been here at Crull, this is the smallest 4th and 5th grade group of boys and girls that I've seen. But I think by far this is the best turnout we've had for a family science night. So I want to congratulate, and we already knew this group of 4th and 5th grade parents have been extremely supportive through all the musicals, the programs that we've had at school, and it really shows here tonight. Thanks for coming out on a cold night. And let's give Mrs. Fleming-Gloss a big round of applause. Great job, Mrs. Fleming-Gloss. Now, for treats.
2, bringing 2 more for him. Scores now.